So you should have at this point, you should have a story written out that you are going to use to create your Choose Your Own Adventure game. So now we need to actually set up the project. So you need to open Unity. And when you open Unity, you need to create a new project. Whatever you name this, that's up to you. You could call it My Second Game. I'm going to call it CYOA for Choose Your Own Adventure. And I'm going to use the 2D template because we still don't need a 3D. I'm going to save it. I don't need any asset packages. That's fine. And just hit Create Project and let it do its compiling thing that it does. And after it's all set, it's telling me that there's an update, which this may happen for you. I'm just going to ignore it for now. But we will try to keep your editor up to date as we move along in this course. But for right now, I'm happy with 2018.2.7.f1. That's fine for me. So I'm not going to hit skip new version. I want it to remind me later, so I'm just going to close out. All right, so this is what I've got laid out in front of me for this game. So I have my stuff kind of side by side right now. That's fine. Let's set it to 16 by 9, some regular old normal computer screen. That's what that looks like. But I'm not going to be using this regular scene again. We're going to be working in the UI area again. So we're going to do a couple of interesting things setting this up. First of all, I know my main camera, I want to have a different color than that eventually. So I'm not a fan of this blue, and I wanted my game to be a horror game, and I feel like horror games are kind of like, I don't know, kind of purple shadows and spooky green lights. It's kind of horror colors for me, so I'm going to do that for my color scheme color, and then I'm going to go right-click in my hierarchy, go to UI, and then I'm going to create a canvas because I need to use the canvas, and once you select, or once you have something selected in the hierarchy, you can just hover over this screen right here and hit F, and it'll automatically center it on your screen. So that's cool. We are going to use something a little bit different, and right click on my canvas. I'm going to create a UI image. Perfect. Let's do this. Most of my game text is going to need a background, so that's what this is going to be, is the background for my game text. And I want to kind of roughly center it in the middle of my screen here, and I want it to take up most of the space. This is a text adventure, so people who are playing my game are going to have to deal with lots of text. So I'm good with that. I was wondering why everything looks so weird, and that's because I have my UI stuff turned off, I believe. So let's see. No, that's not it. Let's see. Layout, layers. Aha! There we go. They're turned on again. So, if that ever happens to you, your UI disappears, check over here to see if you somehow turned the view of it off. Sometimes your UI would be getting in the way of your actual regular game that you haven't actually interacted with too much yet, so you probably don't have to worry about that just yet, but for now, that's where that is. You just click the little eye to hide and make things visible. So, text background, I'm not a big fan of this bright white, and I also need to rename this as a story. I'm going to call it Story BG because it's my story background. And then let's give it a color. Let's do purple, but like a desaturated purple. But still bright enough that somebody could read text on it. I might play with that later, but that's good enough for me for now. On my canvas, I also need to right click and create, and I'm going to this time make a text box. I'm going to link it to my story BG actually because I want it to be attached to that. I'm going to give it a little bit of a space around the edges, like so. I'm not going to worry too much about adding text to it because later I'm going to add text to it from the script, kind of similarly to what we had done before, but not exactly, and we'll get to why that is. Got that attached, got that there, and let's say I need a title for my game. So let's give it. I'm going to use a Text Mesh Pro Text. So here it's whenever I click on that, it says it'll import the TMP essentials. That's fine. That's what I want to do. I'm going to close that because it's imported now. My Text Mesh Pro Text is now on my screen. And here is what makes Text Mesh Pro Text different. So if I look at this text, this is all of the information that I can change right here. I can change the color, I can change how it aligns, things like that. Text Mesh Pro Text, it's a little bit squashed, so let's give me a little bit more room. So on a Text Mesh Pro Text, I have all these other extra options. So I can change the face, I can change the outline, I can give it an underlay, I can give it a font atlas to follow, and all of these other really cool things. So I'm going to leave all these closed for right now. So right now there is one pre-programmed font in my Text Mesh Pro Text, and that is Liberation Sans. And I don't want to use Liberation Sans. It's pretty boring looking as far as text goes. So actually, while I'm thinking about this, I'm going to go ahead and set my anchor points to stretch like so across the center. And then I'm going to change the size of this because it's too big right now. And my text, I'm going to change that size. My work area is a little bit cramped right now, but that's okay. I can adjust this later. So now these relate to each other, so whenever I resize my, yes, much better. And this one I'm going to that work? I want it to stay the same distance from the top. Nah. Centered. That's slightly better. I don't know. I'll mess with that more later. Anyway, drag that back over here. Give myself some more room. And make that box a little bit bigger so I have more space. And I know I'm going to eventually want that centered in my screen. Okay. Lots of rambling to get around to the point of next I am going to grab a spooky font, and I'm going to use the site called dafont.com. It is a very popular site that has all kinds of different types of fonts that are free. And conveniently, since I'm doing a horror-themed game, there's already a horror-themed font section. So I'm just going to investigate this and try to pick which one I think fits the title of my story. I kind of like this one, Another Danger. I'm going to go with this one. So I'm going to click download, and I'm going to save it somewhere useful. So I don't know, the desktop's probably fine. Or maybe let's do downloads. Yeah, downloads will be good. So I'll save it there. And I'm going to go to the folder where I saved it. I'm going to extract it here. Make a new folder, extract here. You could probably also double click and unzip it, depends on how you want to go about it. And I want to install this font. Actually, I don't even actually need to install it. I can just go to Unity. And in my assets folder, I'm going to make a new folder because I want to keep my stuff organized. So I'm going to call it fonts. And then I'm going to grab this font file, put it in here. Perfect. Yes, yes, nice, nice. Okay, and then I need to so what I'm doing now is I went to Window, and then Text Mesh Pro, and then Font Asset Creator to open that up, and then, you know, conveniently stuck it behind everything else. So I've opened this. I'm going to generate a font atlas. This gives Text Mesh Pro information about the font that I'm going to be using. It looks crazy, just trust that it's fine. I'm going to hit save. I'm saving it in my asset fonts folder. So I'm going to call this TMP, another danger TMP, so I can recognize that that's the right one. I'm going to close it because I've done generating it. Now I have a new file in my font folder that looks like this, which has all that Text Mesh Pro information. And I'm going to take this new thing that I generated, drag it right there, and now my text is the cool font that I downloaded. And I'm going to call this call it Dark Room. That seems like a spooky name. And let's make the size, let's see what 80 looks like. 80 looks pretty good. Yeah, I'm really digging this font. This looks pretty good. And there's all kinds of stuff I can play around with in here. So I've got it centered. I've got it white. I kind of like the white. But let's say maybe I want to give it some like spooky effects here. So pretty happy with how that looks. So I'm going to take all of this information and I'm going to call this good for this video. We've got it all set up. We have our interface set up the way we want it to look. Now your background doesn't necessarily have to be quite so plain. Maybe if you want to add some more like blocks of color behind the text, that's fine. If you want to do that, that's up to you. Right here, I've got my story text needs to be renamed. So let's call this story text. This Text Mesh Pro text needs to be renamed. Let's call this title text. So I know it's a text still. Canvas is fine. Main camera is fine. My scene is still called sample scene, and I'm not like really digging that. So to rename the scene, I'm going to click on sample scene once and then wait a second and then click on it again, and now I can rename it. I'm going to call this gameplay because that's what's going to happen in this scene. And you see it changed up there. Everything's good. I'm going to Control S to save everything. And yeah, we're all set up now. Pretty simple and straightforward. Next, we're going to hook up some scripts so that we can add text into this main body of this and have it change between scenes with user input and all of that good stuff. So this game isn't going to have a ton of code to it. Most of the stuff that you're going to put into this game, you've already written yourself. You've kind of written up a story that's going to go into this, and we're just going to programmatically have the game insert it based on what your player says they want to do. So, see you in the next video.